Welcome to episode 15 of the Aerial Podcast. Today I'm going to be talking about Flowers for Algernon and some other stuff. So Flowers for Algernon was a book written in 1958 but published in 1959. I'm going to read the short summary for it. So the book is narrated through a first... the book is narrated through a first-person point of view. It's pretty much self-written progress reports. It's fiction. It's science fiction because Charlie... I'm not even reading this. Charlie was a retarded young man, 35 years old pretty much, with an IQ of 68, but this science experiment would raise his IQ artificially. Now, Charlie with the higher IQ started feeling, had to go through the struggles of actually being aware of what happened to him when he was retarded. Like, people making fun of him just so they can, for personal enjoyment. People belittling him so they could feel better about themselves. Just people being in general ass to him. And his mother was abusive because the mother saw Charlie as a threat because of his retardation. It's just a really interesting book, and it shows about how, it goes on about how his IQ matures, it goes up to the 200s, and his emotionally he's slower to mature, and this shows multiple times, and he always feels as if the old Charlie, when he was retarded, was always just there waiting behind a window, was just waiting for his chance to come back. And eventually he does, because in the book earlier it stated, this ain't really a spoiler because it's already foreshadowed heavily, that the experiment isn't permanent. His IQ will eventually go back down. The ending for the book was very sad, I thought, because you saw him grow. You saw his IQ grow, and the way he talked. I highly recommend listening to the audio book for it. Now, I got a free trial for Audible, not sponsored, but I started reading it from there. What made me start wanting to read Flowers for Algernon was the song Feather from Nutribest featuring Scythe Star and Atkin. Scythe Star in there says, "I'm just a vagabond with flowers for Algernon." And I like to go through the lyrics and try to break them down, because the lyrics for a lot of songs by Nutribest and other MCs with them are just a giant metaphor. It's just a metaphor, and it's great. So I try to decipher the metaphor, try to get what I feel from it, and what they intended. So I started reading Flowers for Algernon, hoping I can get a better point of view from it. But I highly recommend listening to it, because the way he talks, is narrated by Jeff Woodman. I got it through Audible. You can find it on YouTube. I saw it on there. But he talks with the he sounds different when he's retarded, and when he's more mature, the way he starts pronouncing words and the way he talks in general, it shows intelligence, and that's why I would prefer reading or listening to it instead of reading it. It kind of adds that more of a connection to it. So yeah, and it's sad at the end when he starts deteriorating his IQ, and he pretty much returns to the way he was, and I think he actually got worse. You're gonna have to read the book and find out how, but I'm not gonna really spoil it. But it was a really interesting book. I liked it, and it opened my mind on many different things regarding IQ and your subconscious mind. It's a very intelligent book, but it also kind of opened my eyes on IQ. I always thought of IQ but there's this one part in the book where he's at a convention for the science thing, so people can show him off like an animal, which he talks about. But he starts asking for what are your ideas on IQ and stuff like that, and people give their... No, he's just recalling what other scientists what are they called? A psychologist or whatever. Psychology professors talked about, or what they think about IQ. And this one professor said that he thinks that IQ is just stupid. It's meaningless. But it all has meaning, but it's really just a number in the end. I can have an IQ of I don't know, 70 or something, but I can still be a good person. I can still be smart in a way. But like people with high IQs, if you have a really high IQ, like let's say 170 or 50 or 60, it doesn't really mean anything. Like, think about that. Just really think about it. It doesn't really mean anything. You're still a person. It's still who you are. You just might be a little bit smarter, but then again, you might not even be smarter. It's just really just a number. But he talks about that, and that opened my mind on that. And just the book's amazing, and it deals with him also emotionally maturing, because he's paused on, like his whole life was just, he was a boy, so he had a chance to grow up and stuff like that, and recalling past events, and it's really interesting. So I highly recommend you give it a read. How am I doing on time? 5 minutes. Wow. That's actually really good. Yeah, Flowers for Algernon is really good. Find it on YouTube, or I don't know, just find a way to read it or listen to it. Like I said, I recommend listening to it. It's very, very rewarding in a way. When I read it, I highly recommend the book, and I'm glad that I read it. So now I'm going to talk about other stuff. When I released last night's episode, Nujabes, and I forgot the title I gave it, but I remember and mentally connecting with music. I meant to do emotionally connecting to music. I could change it now, but I was very passionate about that subject, about Nujabes, and pretty much the metaphors of his songs, like the feeling they give off emotionally. And so I was nervous uploading it, and I was nervous just seeing it there in my feed, because I have the Aerial Podcast channel, but I also have a personal one that I used before, but it just has everything else. I use that mainly when I'm watching it, but just seeing it there, I was like with the other ones, I was completely fine with, but that one, because I was so passionate for it, I kind of got nervous, and that made me think. I started thinking from then on, like, okay, that's a good thing, right? If let's say you're an artist, right, or you're making a show. Oh, that reminds me. I'll talk about it later. But let's say you're making a show a book that you're really passionate on, or anything, a show that you're really passionate on. You're really passionate on producing it, and you push it out. It's out there for everyone to see. Of course you're going to be nervous, because you're passionate on it. If you weren't passionate on it, you wouldn't really feel all that nervous for it, you know? So, yeah, I think when I upload stuff, I don't really feel nervous, but I am still passionate. But when you're truly passionate about something, you'll get nervous, and that's a good thing. So if you're nervous, that's normally a good sign. If you actually tried and put your heart into it, if you didn't just half-ass it, and you're nervous, like, oh shit, what if I just get in trouble because it's, they'll notice that I cut corners. That's bullshit. Don't do that. Everyone does it, including me, but don't do that. Substantial said, I like to refer to Substantial a lot, but Substantial said, excuses become fuck. As a man, I used to make a lot of excuses. No, in the past I used to make a lot of excuses, but as a man I found the excuses to be useless, which is true, because you just gotta do whatever, just get it done, man, get her done. That was so bad. But yeah, I felt passionate about it, and so I was nervous about it, and I felt nervous just seeing it there, like, oh, what will people think? But then again, it's like, so what? It's only their thoughts. Don't be an ass about it, you know? You do something that you're really passionate about, and you put it out there for the world to see, but people are going to hate on it no matter what. So just don't be an asshole if you're hating on it, because just think about it. That's something that someone was really, really passionate about. What am I doing on time? Yeah, it was something that person was really, really passionate about. So don't just go out there and say, oh yeah, whatever. Don't treat it lightly if they were truly passionate on it. And I feel as if it's easy to determine if they were passionate on it when making it. So that's just what I think. And I like doing these episodes where I just talk about what I think. In the future, I have this thing right here. This is how I decided to talk about Nujabes. It was this one right here. It was, I already know what it says, but it was the Ristorante mixtape and Sweet Sticky Thing mixtape by Nujabes. Ristorante was released in 2007 or 4, and Sweet Sticky Thing was 1994 or 8. And he has cassettes for him because that's what was popular back then. And this is a substantial cassette, limited to 100 copies. You could probably still get it online because he's not really that well known, which is fine. But for $300 for this, for Sweet Sticky Thing. Now, the songs on Sweet Sticky Thing are really, really good. They're really good, and especially on side B. And Ristorante is also really good. But yeah, that pretty much covers it. I'll decide the next episode by doing this or something, or like throwing something at it and like seeing where it lands. I'm just gonna do that real quick. Music tastes. I already did that pretty much. Various thoughts. I'm doing that right now. Yeah. Okay. Favorite artist. I pretty much did that too. I have this coin right here. I'm just gonna. Okay. I'll do that tonight, or tomorrow night. Anyway, thanks for watching, and as always, mwah, okay, bye.